Alright guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Hope everyone's having a great day today. So, today's video, let's talk about some roast tires, automotive, unpopular opinions. So I did a small poll for this video. I wanted to kind of gauge any sort of wanting for this video, really. Some actual interest on this video, because I didn't want to just make videos and I don't like making filler content, so I wanted to make sure there's actually, at least a couple people that would actually watch this video. So let's get right into some of my automotive unpopular opinions. And the first one, actually before we get started with that, let me just get this out of the way. This is my opinion. Don't come after me in the comments just because I disagreed with you. I don't care what you think, and you shouldn't care what I think. That's kind of that. But if you guys are interested to see what my unpopular opinions are, continue watching. If not, then I have well over 1,200 other videos to watch. So I know that seems kind of snarky, but I'm just getting it out of the way that I don't want to see any fighting in the comments. Opinions are opinions. Everyone has them. It doesn't matter what everyone else thinks. Just keep your own thoughts. But at the same time, feel free to voice your opinions, but don't just don't go start name calling and being aggressive towards someone and trying to argue because you think that that person's stupid for disagreeing with you. Alright, so the first one's gonna get a lot of people bothered, especially in the JDM scene, which is primarily where I'm anchored as an enthusiast, despite my audience being a completely different mindset from me in that regard. Is the GTR. Let's talk about the GTR. The Nissan GTR R35 is a good car, but I do believe it's overhyped. I think that the market is just saturated right now, mainly only due to the fact that it's been very popular with YouTubers. Plenty of YouTubers have them, and plenty of them are selling them now. So I feel like that the GTR's hype is mostly related to two aspects. YouTube popularity, as many non-automotive YouTubers who get big are buying these cars. And it's getting their names out. All the kids, lots of Call of Duty YouTubers, lots of other vloggers have bought GTRs now, and the hype is just getting overblown because all the kids that are watching this are like, oh, so that they see that as a sign of money because it's they're kind of expensive cars, and so these YouTubers are buying these really expensive cars like the GTR, and they're like, oh, so that automatically means it's a supercar just because it's expensive. And honestly, to me, price doesn't constitute supercar stature. And anything from a $20-something thousand Porsche Boxster you bought a couple years ago, that's not a supercar. Price doesn't have anything to do with supercars. It's the performance and the styling and all that stuff that counts. Cars like the 911, cars like the 458, the 488, the Aventador, stuff like that. That's supercars. Cars like the GTR, the Boxster, MR2s, I guess you could consider because they're mid-engine. I don't know. Cars like that are kind of in the middle. I don't consider the GTR a supercar. I really don't. I consider it on the higher echelon of sports cars, which is also about where I'd put the Boxster and stuff of that nature, is in the upper echelon of sports cars, not supercars. They aren't quite supercars, but they're getting there. The problem is the GTR is overhyped due to the fact that it's so popular with other people, with all these kids that are getting into cars at a young age. They're seeing the fact that the GTR has got a good bit of parts to it that make it fantastic, which I'll get into in a second, because I don't want to make a whole hit on the GTR, because I do still think it's a good car. I just think it's overhyped. The GTR is known for its popularity with YouTubers, and it's known for its launch control. The GTR isn't necessarily the most exciting car to drive, allegedly. A lot of people that I've seen own these cars will commonly say they're not that fun to drive. Now granted, I've never experienced a GTR, so I can't say that for myself and my own experiences. I would love to experience a GTR one day. But at the same time, they appear to be a one-trick pony car, and that is not a pony car in this sense of a Mustang, but a one-trick pony, where they're only known for their launch control and their popularity with YouTube kids, and just any big name YouTuber in general that can afford one will buy one at some point. It's kind of the rite of passage, it seems like, as being a bigger YouTuber, you buy a GTR. Now again, the GTR, while I do think it's overhyped, I don't think it's a bad car. I think it's great. It's got a lot it brings to the table. It's a lot of extreme technologies when it first came out. It's a little dated now, but when it first came out, it was ahead of its time in technology and research, and it's a great car. I just do believe it's overhyped, and I do believe that there are cars that do its job better now. That's kind of it, though. The GTR is a good car, but it's overhyped, in my opinion. Now we're going to move on to our next one. This one is going to probably hit pretty hard with the Euro scene in particular, because this is a very divisive topic with the Euro cars. I actually think the S55 BMW Inline 6 sounds good. Raspy 6-cylinders are some of my favorite sounds. Now, obviously, it gets to a point. I believe this is way too raspy. If I could dial back the rasp just a little bit and get closer to the S55, I'd be pretty stoked. The S55 is probably my favorite sounding 6-cylinder outside of the 2JZ, and ironic enough, they're both inline 6s and they're both closed deck heads. But the S55 is kind of infamous for its very raspy sound, and for that kind of car, I think it works really well. Trucks like mine, that level of rasp isn't really the greatest. If I could dial this down to kind of semi S55 zone in terms of rasp, I'd be really happy. But for, pickup trucks especially, it doesn't work very well. But for cars like say the F80 M3, the M2 Competition, the M4, cars of that nature, that of that size, they really work with that kind of raspy, kind of inline 6 sound. Now, of course, I will say, to big turbo GTRs, since we're just on the topic GTRs, they commonly have a very similar S55-esque rasp, and I think they sound great. I prefer the raspier sound of like a big turbo upgrade GTR over the standard trumpet sound that they tend to produce. Another car that sounds better with a more raspy kind of sound, in my opinion, is the G35, G37, 350Z, 370Z. Pretty much any VQ platform. I personally am a big shoehorn of the HKS exhaust on those cars. That is my absolute favorite. They'll probably get me shot by the VQ guys, but I prefer the HKS's sound over something like a Tomei or Motordyne. Even though I will say, we just had a G37 on the channel a couple months ago, Kaysen's G37S, and Motordyne is not a bad sound. I think when it comes to my totem of VQ exhaust, HKS is my favorite, and then Motordyne's right behind it. I'm not a crazy big guy on the trumpety kind of sound the VQ produces, but I do like the Motordyne. It just has a very nice quality sound. So I really enjoyed the setup Kaysen has in his car. But I do love the HKS just a little bit more because it is very S55-ish in terms of its raspy kind of growl that it produces. And that's really that. My next one is going to pertain pretty well to my audience here, and it's obviously kind of obvious where this is going to go, but in my opinion, lowered trucks are better than lifted trucks. I've had this truck lowered for about 4 years now, or something like that, 3 or 4 years, and I've loved every second of it. I grew up in the car scene. My dad was a part of a car club back in the day that specialized in, at the time, import kind of tuners as well as lowered trucks like this. And it was very awesome. I was raised in that kind of environment. I wasn't raised in an environment where lifting was very popular. And so when I got this, that was kind of something that I figured would happen. I originally didn't plan on doing any mods to it, and then once I started doing mods, I was like, oh yeah, we're lowering this thing, screw it. And I've never looked back. I will probably never own a lifted truck in my lifetime. I will never do an off-road build. And I personally prefer the way that lowered vehicles look, regardless of what they are: pickup trucks, SUVs, cars, etc. Even bikes. I plan on, if I ever get a bike for some reason, it's going to be lowered and stretched. Lowering stuff is kind of my jam, and I don't really intend on changing that. No matter what anyone says, I'm never going to do a lifted truck build or anything like that. This has always been my personality. It's always what I've been known for, and I'm keeping that. Lowered stuff is my jam, especially with trucks. And then my last one. This one isn't necessarily unpopular, but I feel like in today's era with modern car enthusiasts that this is kind of unpopular. Now, if you go back a couple decades, this was one of the most popular cars on sale, and that is the air-cooled Bug is a good car. Now, this is probably biased because my dad owned several of them growing up as project cars. I know a lot about these cars. But I genuinely love the old Beetle, and I think that it's not the new Beetle from 2001 to 2010, but the Beetle that replaced it in around 2011, 2012 is also a good car. Granted, the 2012 Plus Beetle is still a little bit feminine, but it's not as bad as the 01 to 10, which is just absolutely nightmarish for a male to own, unless you're okay with that. And personally, I'm comfortable with my own sexuality where I could rock a Bug like that, but it wouldn't be my first choice. I would much rather have a Golf over that generation of Beetle. I'd rather have most cars over a 2001 to 2010 Beetle, but I don't think it's a bad car. But the air-cooled Bugs, despite making like 20 to 40 horsepower on a good day, on a really nice cold afternoon when it's not raining, they have just this atmosphere around them of carefreeness. It's like what you get with a Miata, where the car is slow. Everyone knows it's slow, but it's just got this carefree attitude that's built on the car. The car's got so much character. And that's what I like about cars like the Miata and the Beetle, is that while they are slow, the Beetle more so than the Miata for obvious reasons, the Beetle has character, and that's where it comes in. The Beetle's got this legacy that is both somewhat upsetting with its World War II origins. If you guys know the Beetle's history, was produced by a very certain German general back in the or German dictator in World War II. So it was commissioned by him. And of course it led to Porsche, which is one of the biggest brands in the sports car industry, and there's a name to be reckoned with. They're a force to be reckoned with, especially in terms of my favorite two models from Porsche, the 911 GT3 and the Turbo. Two of my favorite cars from Porsche. I love those two cars. But anyway, those are my unpopular automotive opinions. The GTR is good, but it's still overhyped. The S55 is probably one of the better sounding 6-cylinders, if not one of the best sounding 6-cylinders on the market, and is my favorite BMW engine currently. Followed very quickly behind by the air-cooled Bug and lower trucks being both great. And my preferences on that. So those are my unpopular automotive opinions. I'm sure some of them are going to hit differently with other people. Some people are going to think that it maybe isn't that unpopular, such as in the S55 or the air-cooled Bug situation. But some people might, see them as very unpopular. So I want to know what you guys have as unpopular opinions in the comments below. Like I said, I don't want to see any fighting or name-calling. I genuinely don't think that people should care about other people's opinions, and that goes for more than just cars, especially in other fields where people seem to be getting hostile recently that I'm not going to go into detail on because I refuse to. But anyway, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, more content coming soon on the channel. If you guys have any other cool video recommendations, leave them down in the comments below. I'll have an update on this guy, hopefully here soon. We're going through some details and stuff like that on some other stuff. I've actually, if you guys haven't seen the community post, I'll tell you guys, go over to the community tab and check it out. I posted it a couple days ago. I actually went and test drove a new car on last Saturday, so we're waiting to see on how that'll go. We're still keeping our options open on this, but we went and just checked it out and are kind of just working decisions behind the scenes. So I'll keep you guys updated on that, of course. If anything happens, you guys will be the first to know about it. But for now, guys, I'm going to wrap things up here. Hope you all enjoyed it. See you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. See you guys then.